Good morning, everybody. We're gonna get ready for the gym and a walk, and we're gonna start our yoga practice. I'm doing Ashtanga, the primary series. My name is Natasha Wally. I am a property manager and a licensed real estate license in Oregon. So I'm gonna get ready, and we're gonna talk about all through my travels through Asia, a little bit in Europe, and North America. Just the housing styles that I observed. I'm not speaking for these cultures or countries, so it's kind of like the outside perspective of a SoCal gal. I think I'll go through Russia first because I was in Moscow, and then I was in Krasnoyarsk, Abakan, and Tuva. And we stayed in, I think, 3 or 4 different types of housing. The one we can just start with was like an apartment complex. And those are very interesting because they are so sturdy, but also not at the same time. So like from the outside, when you look, you're like, oh shit, this is industrial, this is cement, this is very strong and like can survive the Siberian winters. Thankfully I was there during the summer, so I didn't have to deal with that. But the HVAC systems and everything just like are prepared for that. So that was super nice. Like the AC and everything inside like can prepare you for, or like keep you comfortable for those different extremes there, because I was in Siberia. And it is not, I just want to debunk all the silly stereotypes. It is not like, whatever you think of it as an American is not that way. It was super beautiful. It kind of reminded me of my hometown, actually. Just like very large, but you know, manageable rolling hills, kind of dry brush and everything. So that was, we stayed in the apartments. There's like the kitchen and bathroom are very different than I'm used to. The kitchens are actually very convenient. They have drying racks above the sink, at least the one that I stayed in. It's like you don't do your dishes in the dishwasher. I'm sure people have them, but in the places I was staying, it was definitely you do your dishes as you go, and there's a drying rack like within the cupboard. It was really cool. It's like it was very efficient. And the bathroom as well. They're kind of more, there were smaller bathrooms that I was staying in, and their toilet is different. I heard a German comedian, I forgot his name, I think it's Mario something. It's called a poop shelf, but it's like, there's less water, I think I think that's the point of it. He was saying so you can see how healthy you are. But I think it uses less water because the water's just at the bottom, a smaller at the like where it flushes, it's at the front of it rather than the back. And then what else? Where else did I stay? So like a little cottage style house. I don't know if this was everywhere, or if this was just in Tuva, but the shutters on the outside, it's more of like Easter pastel kind of color. So they were like that light robin eggs blue. It was super gorgeous. And then the family that we were staying with, they had the house, but then they also had, I think it's called banya. It's like the sauna, which is pretty cool that they have like just a sauna in their backyard. And then I think what we would call like a granny flat, I think it's, I want to say dacha. Somebody correct me. But it is like a nice extra little house. So that was my experience in Russia with the housing that I saw. What else? I was in Abakan, Krasnoyarsk. We stayed in a nice apartment that was 2 stories. That was my first experience of having like a 2-story apartment. I know that's like common, but I was like also young. I was like, wow, this is cool. And I got to stay in this upstairs bathroom, or bedroom, not the bathroom. And you can see like the view is pretty cool because we were high at those are not skyscrapers. I think it was just like normal to have like 20-story buildings as apartments. So that was pretty cool. Same thing with the kitchen. It was very compact, but like efficient. And then the windows were the dangerous part. So like I mentioned, like, oh, they're very solid and industrial, but I was warned that it's like not as, you know, like America, strong, steel, all that. She was like, it's not built like in America, you know, like you could fall out the window. Cause it was like a princess, I don't know what those are called, like bay windows, but the windows were pretty cool. They could open towards you or open this way. And so she's like, that's a little dangerous. Please don't sit there. So that was pretty cool. But those are like the 3 places I stayed. And I would recommend. It was pretty cool. Yeah, when we stayed at the house with the banya, and I think it's called dacha, we had some people, I think they're from Kyrgyzstan. They brought and like prepared a barbecue, but they brought the lamb or goat with them. And that was an experience to see, sorry, I'm not trying to poke out my eyeball, see an animal slaughtered in an Islamic halal way. So there was no mess. I was like, that's crazy. You just killed an animal. Sorry if you're squeamish, so maybe you want to skip this next 20 seconds. But yeah, they definitely killed it and then washed all the organs. And the barbecue was super good. So we had a barbecue in the backyard. So I don't know how, it's kind of like, there was no forest, but how I imagine like you live in a cottage in the forest and like you do those types of things. We obviously had the grocery store and stuff nearby, and we went to a coffee shop. That was pretty cool. So that was my experience with the housing in Russia. The housing in Bali, that was fun. So when you have a US dollar or euro or one of those like stronger currencies, you can live like a queen, an empress, a goddess, whatever you'd like, or king. We love our kings. And I kind of went on a couple dates with this guy, and he was a more successful businessman, so he could spend $1,000 on a villa, which I know here in America, like if you can have a whole place for $1,000, that's great. But I was a teacher at the time, so I was making like $800 a month. So spending $1,000 was not doable, but it was like a gorgeous open air villa concept with it felt like 2 primary bedrooms, suites with bathrooms. There was a pool in the area where it's like an atrium, but like open air villa, and then a sprawling kitchen and living room situation, and like you could store your surfboards. He was into skincare and stuff, so he had a bag, like a giant bag of sea moss, so you can like garden in the kitchen. It was just very open air and gorgeous. He said he was paying like $1,000 a month. So if you're earning abroad and the currency doesn't matter for you, then you should do that. But that was gorgeous. So I stayed in a lot of those places, which they don't have to be $1,000 too. His was just super nice. Like one of the apartments that I stayed in was not as fancy. It did have its own kitchen. So I stayed in places where you would have a shared kitchen, but then there was a pool and like you were right by the beach. So it depended on what amenities you wanted, but luxury was everywhere if you had a stronger currency, which was really nice. I was earning in Indonesian currency, I think it's rupiah, but I was definitely with like a higher commodity pay because of English. So that was really nice. I definitely had my lashes done and my nails done all the time, and I was on a teacher salary. So America, do better for your teachers. Anyways, I'm no longer a teacher because it's a corrupt system and you don't pay your teachers and we're getting burned out. Anyways, I digress. So I stayed in apartments where it had its own kitchen, super nice little balcony. It wasn't like a full kitchen though. I had to buy my own stovetop thing, but then I stayed in places where it was like you had a shared kitchen, which was cool. I met a puppy that had fleas and it bit me, and so did the fleas. Long story. Where else did I stay? Oh yeah, with my friends we did an Airbnb, but it was a villa. And this was like 6 years ago, and it was only like $28 a night for each of us. So that was pretty pretty cheap actually. And that was like a 2-story open air also, 3-bedroom. The primary suite was downstairs and that was pretty cute. It had like a shower with like rocks around it as the drainage. So it was pretty open air. Even our bathroom, the other bathroom was there was only half a roof. It was just outdoor. You can see and hear the birds and everything. Had a beautiful tub and just like all the amenities that you'd want. And like the living room and kitchen again were open air to the pool and like a little garden. And then the other 2 main bedrooms were upstairs and they were large bedrooms. So that was pretty cool. So we have some villas, apartments, homestays that I've done as well, where it's like a compound. And it's just depending on the person's preferences and budget. But I've stayed in 2 different compounds where it's like the family lives together and builds out, or up, depending on the land that you have. So one was in a rice paddy. That was an experience. And I was on the whole like no chemicals things. I'm for off and DEET and just spray yourself because bugs are bugs. And if you're living in a rice paddy with an unfinished compound, like the roof, you see this guy, or the bathroom, like you're taking a shower, but you're kind of outside, but you're like, you have 4 walls, but the roof is not finished. So the cockroaches, geckos, birds can just come in, which is really cool, except the mosquitoes. Oh my God. So it's like a huge house, but you each have your own room and bathroom. But you share the kitchen, but it's kind of open air, kind of like a castle. It's super cool. And the second compound was more like modern, more like a hotel style, even though it was like a family's house. It was a little bit less open air. So the kitchen and everything were inside closed, but you could I think there was like sliding doors that you could make it open air. And then upstairs there was like 6 or 7 bedrooms. Some people had to share bathrooms, some had their own. So that was Bali. Japan, I only stayed in an apartment, so I don't have any experience with like houses or other forms of living. So my apartment was a studio. Still affordable and very efficient. So the kitchen was kind of like into the wall. So it'd be more like a kitchenette with a sink and a burner stove, like that you could take camping or whatever. And then like a little cupboard. That was the kitchen. There's a balcony with a washing machine, and you just dry your clothes outside, but it's humid, so you might dry your clothes inside with the AC. And it's not like air conditioning, is one of those ones that are above the door, like a PTAC, I think. And you can like, I don't know if my boss was joking, but like you can just go to like whatever their Home Depot version is, and buy a bathroom. It's like this plastic, well, it's not this big, it's the size of a bathroom, but it's plastic, and it has the sink, the toilet, and the shower all like made out of the plastic. And obviously there's room for plumbing. I'm not a plumber. But you could like clean the bathroom so easily because you just close the door and it's all plastic. So you spray whatever you need to spray. And then you can use the shower head and just like rinse off the ceiling, the walls, and it is very efficient. It is small, but like what are you doing in the bathroom? Go to the bathroom, you do your business, shower, get ready. But that was pretty cool. That it's very convenient to clean. And then it was just like a room. And I do miss, what I love about Asia is that we take off our shoes before we go in the house. I'm living in America and people and their shoes, it's like, I feel like I'm setting a boundary every time. It's like, it makes me nervous. I'm like, so this is an Asian household, please take off your shoes. Can you just take off your shoes? Stop dragging dirt into the house. I don't understand. If you want something, let's get you some slippers, socks, house shoes. But why are we gonna go trudge through the dirty world? I will die on this hill. Take your shoes off before you go into a house. Even if you, also like if you're a worker, like an internet person, a plumber, take off your shoes. But I can't change a whole country, sorry about that. But that's what I do love, because in that little tiny studio apartment, there was you come in, the entryway is a different material of flooring than the rest of the floor. And it's like, that's where you take off your shoes, is where you put your shoes on. It's like a shoe putter on or taker off or spot. Love it. I didn't know I was this passionate about this. So yeah, we did Japan, Russia, Bali, Where else did I live? Oh, India, where I'm from. Half, also from Michigan. We could do the housing in Michigan. I don't know if that would be interesting. Sorry, Michiganders. But no, so at least there's, again, so this is, everybody has different access to different types of housing. So like I said, when I was in Japan, I was working class. Bali, I had access to people who were more entrepreneurial, and then I was more, still again, working class still. So depending on your budget, right, of what you have access to. So in my case, in India, you can obviously see people that are living in the dirt or slums, I guess that is the word for it. Then you have people like my grandma, who was a badass, and she had a master's degree in Hindi, I think, literature. She was the librarian of the U.S. Embassy in Delhi, and she was basically the breadwinner in a time in a country that women usually weren't. She was born in the 30s, I think. So she's pretty cool and very frugal, just because she grew up super poor. And I think she was there during the Pakistan-Indian split. Again, we're not getting political on this site. We're international. We love everyone. But during that time, like, so my grandma was very, very frugal. And I'm sure that's how she could, afford the house. And I don't know the whole story. I was a child, right, at that time. So I've been back when I was 4. And then 10 years ago, I went back. So I was an adult then. And it was cool to see the memories of, like, when I was 4, obviously 2 feet tall, and so looking up or like seeing people's feet and then like going to the same places and seeing it as an adult at a 5'6" vantage point. So that was pretty cool. But my grandma has a house, and she renovated it. So I guess the standard is like you build up so that way like the next generations and their family and their kids can live, and so on and so forth. So I think she's gone up 3 stories, but she only had my dad. So she rented out. So my grandma's an entrepreneur, but super humble and didn't even just talk about it. So I'm realizing this now as an adult. So I really like these stories. So thank you for listening, because I'm realizing a lot of stuff about my family and myself, and that's kind of the journey, right? And so I'm not even getting ready anymore. I'm just talking. Do I need anything else? Nope. I'm gorgeous, ready for the gym. But no, so her house, she renovated, but I think at least when I was there when I was a kid, she had 2 stories and then a maid's quarters. So I'm sure there's slavery going on, but no, it's just like paying for like a housekeeper or something. And then there's a spot for them to live if they want. If not, they don't have to live there. And so she renovated it. Now I think it's 3 stories. So there's 3 different houses on top of each other. She doesn't live there anymore, so I think she's renting all 3 spots out. So she's just an entrepreneur, 84 years old, living her life, drinking her chai and her rusks. But that house, it's more, hers at least, is really nice. It has really nice floor. I don't know what stone it is, but it keeps it cool. And then the kitchen is kind of like a huge sink. It was 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, so that was nice. Like, it's basically like 2 primaries. The bathroom is ensuite. Ensuite is my favorite. Like, just if you can just get out of bed and run to the bathroom to pee, that's my favorite. Like, just the privacy, not have to like, good morning, like I gotta go, like just go to the bathroom, I just really like that. And the showers are pretty cool, at least in my grandma's house. I think she had the shower from up top. I don't know, it's like a waterfall. And the kitchen, I already mentioned, and then a nice balcony overlooking a park in the back and the street in the front. And I think because the British invaded, don't do that. So the neighborhoods are kind of separated into colonies, colony A, B, C, and I don't like it. So she just referred to it at the colony, whatever letter, like it's normal, and it kind of disturbed me, but I guess that's what history, right? Where else have I stayed? I was in China, but I just stayed at a hotel. Any other housing? Oh, Mexico. So I've gone from like middle class to wealthy and there's some, I haven't been to the wealthy parts of Mexico. I think the parts that I went on like house building volunteer trips. I'm sure, I can't even imagine. I can't wait to see that in Mexico. But my experience was more in the desert in Ensenada. And so we built these kind of sheds that we turned into houses. I helped hammer and paint as a 14-year-old. That was pretty cool. So we built 3 of those, and they had a lock. And so these people that we gave the houses to, which is just tiny fraction of Mexico, so I'm looking forward to going back and seeing other situations and other types of housing. But this one, they were just thankful to have a lock. That's like kind of the spot in Mexico that I was in. They were very thankful to have a lock. And they had, again, like the burner like I did in Bali and Japan, just as that was the kitchen. And they had 2 stories, but like so the second story is kind of more like a, not an attic, but like an attic where you can just sleep and put your bed there. And then downstairs was kind of like a 10 by 10 situation. So I've seen a lot of different types of housing and experienced it and lived in different ones. I mean, the year 2020, I moved 11 times. So I think what the human mind can do with or without resources is pretty cool. And that some people come together to build houses for people, or we got badass grandmas that are just entrepreneurs and not even making a big deal of it, like all of us. Like, good job to everyone who is, but like, oh yeah, I did this. But then there's like grandmas out there that are just like building generational wealth, which I don't see. It's not for me, but she's just doing it in her sleep, just as her duty, just to be the grandma that she is. So there's different levels, and different experiences, and I've been blessed to see all of them. And like, now that I'm combining like my past of being an international teacher and just traveling, and so I lived in those houses, now I'm excited to kind of take that experience and help people find what they want. Like, do you want to just like go off grid and live in Mexican deserts? Because I could help you with that. Do you want to be a fancy schmancy humble grandma that has rentals off yonder, but you live in a different country? I got you. Do you want to live your best life off of $800? We could go to Southeast Asia. So I feel very confident and very excited. Like, for this is the first time I've been excited about what I'm doing. It's like traveling, eating. Oh, that will be my next video. Foods around the world and where to live, because there was a ramen spot outside my little Japanese studio. So I think that'll be my next video, is like housing near food, because we love food. I'm gonna go to the gym and walk and do all, I'm gonna sweat and get all sweaty and buff. You have a great day, and we'll see you next time.